Hello and welcome to another episode of Global Duologue. Today I am joined by Ms. Veena Reddy, who is a career member of the US Senior Foreign Service. Currently, she is the Mission Director and Minister Counselor for International Development for the US Agency for International Development, or USAID, in India and Bhutan. Welcome, Ms. Reddy, and thank you so much for joining me today on Global Duologue. So let's dive right into the questions. Can you briefly share about USAID and its role in India?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me on your program. I'm the Mission Director for USAID in India, and we are a global agency of the US government. I'll give you a little history about US decision to invest in development abroad. In the aftermath of World War II, in the wake of incredible devastation in Europe, the US decided that economic assistance would not only show American goodwill and values as a shattered Europe rebuilt itself, but also develop the friendships and alliances that would make the US and the world stronger. So that was called the Marshall Plan. And in 1949, the US extended this approach more broadly to other countries through what is known as the Point 4 program. And India was part of that program. That included medical research, hydroelectric facilities, a whole range of support. And then in 1961, seeing all of the different types of work that the US government was doing to support international development, President John F. Kennedy created the U.S. Agency for International Development. And we are the U.S. government's primary and premier international development agency, driving development results. And at that same period of time is when the Peace Corps was also created, really with this idea of increasing U.S. friendship, U.S. connections with other countries, and leading to what we think is a stronger world. We help to lift lives, build communities, advance democracy. And we hope that our work really advances economic prosperity that helps countries progress along their own development journey. U.S. Foreign Development Cooperation has been in India for more than 7 decades, longer than USAID. And we've worked with India on some of the world's most pressing development challenges. Almost every sector, agriculture, industry, economic reforms, benefiting really generations of Indians. And we worked on food security with India, fueling the green revolution, launching educational exchanges, starting some of the premier universities, reducing poverty, public health, advancing new technologies, and really trying to advance this inclusive and sustainable economic growth and more.
Thank you for that history on the USAID. My next question is, how would you define the US-India development partnership today?
Well, both the US and India have changed a lot since the Point 4 agreement, since USAID was started. And really, the relationship, not just with USAID, but the relationship with the US government and with US people has really changed. And this relationship between India and the US at all levels can be a force for global good. This is one of the most strategic and consequential bilateral relationships of the 21st century, but it's also a people-to-people relationship. And we're partnering in all sorts of ways at all different levels on these kind of shared global development priorities. With this shared vision, we're tackling some of the world's most pressing challenges together, whether it's fighting food security, global health security, tackling climate change, advancing what we see as a free and open, or a vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. The US and India are really collaborating across every field and sector to improve the lives of both our peoples. And today, our partnership is really changing, and we're looking at how we build upon what we've already done together to now match India's innovation, India's leadership, and identifying those solutions that can serve as models for the world.
You mentioned climate change as something in the partnership between India and the US. How do you see India as an essential partner in mitigating climate change?
That's a great question. So uh, uh, India is a partner in climate change. I think both countries recognize that this is a fundamental crisis. And we're working hand in hand with the Indian government, with the Indian people, civil society, to address some of the root causes and effects of climate change. So we're looking at ways that we can protect our environment. India set some really ambitious climate reduction measures, and USAID is right there along trying to support this, protecting biodiversity, sustainable landscapes, renewable energy, and resilience to climate change impacts. We have partnered with India in terms of adaptation to climate change. If the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure is a great example where India started this global coalition. US, other countries were founding members. Happy to partner with India on this global stage. And now it's a coalition of almost 40 countries and organizations, all committed to making our global infrastructure more resilient to climate disasters. We're also partnering with Indian Railways as they look to get to net zero by 2030. This is the world's fourth largest railway system, and it's using the same amount of power as 4.5 million households. So if they can go to zero and to net zero and really increase their efficiency, increase their use of renewable energy, they'll save offset nearly 500,000 tons of carbon dioxide. They'll also, it's almost like planting 200,000 trees. And then speaking of trees, we're also working with India on trees outside forests. So that India has incredible biodiversity, incredible forests. I've been really lucky to be able to see some of the amazing natural wonders of India. Then outside of these areas, there's more that can be done and more that we can forest and green. And that's India's ambition. So we're working with them in 7 states on what's called trees outside forests, convincing farmers and others to put more trees and to find the economic value in those trees in addition to the climate value. So a whole host of ways that we're partnering with India to both reduce emissions, make energy more efficient, work across the region on integrating more clean energy into the system, but then also looking at adaptation, looking at carbon sequestration, like trees and such too. So really a whole host as India really increases its ambitions and sets the stage for what I hope will be a greener future.
I hope for that too. Thank you for that wonderful insight on climate change and what is being done to mitigate it. Tell me, Ms. Reddy, how is USAID advancing inclusive development in India?
So we really believe that inclusive development is rooted in the idea that every person is instrumental in transforming their societies. So everyone has a role. And we take this approach first because we think everyone has equal value, is worthy of dignity and respect, and should be included in the development process. And we believe that that is what will yield lasting results, that the more you are inclusive, the longer you'll be able to sustain those results. So we promote the rights and inclusion of marginalized, underrepresented populations in all stages of our work, from concept to design to implementation to evaluation and learning. So we want to include Indigenous, tribal populations, LGBTQI plus community members, women, girls, scheduled castes, people with disabilities, youth, religious groups, trying to get the best solutions because they have to fit all of society, right? And we also try to combat stigma and discrimination, promote empowerment, inclusion, and really look at the lived life of the populations that we work at, the highest risk, and trying, as we put it, first, do no harm, leave no one behind, and importantly, do nothing about them without them. So you don't want to just impose a solution on a community. You really want to bring them along with you, because that's how you'll have a lasting result. A good example is how we work with 3 comprehensive clinics for transgender community. We've been working in that space since 2021, where these clinics provide a range of health services and dignified care for transgender community without stigma, and they're run by people from the community, so that beneficiaries, people who come in, patients, they receive quality care and support in a trusted environment. And we've seen some of these doctors, nurses, are incredibly dedicated, but they also, some have been like taken on by the government system, and they want, they're being brought in as trusted physicians or medical providers in the more mainstream system as well. So to see that you can start with a community and then you get more integrated and accepted, that's a great success story.
You talked about partnering with clinics for the transgender. How does the USAID select partners for collaborative projects, and what criteria do you consider while evaluating these partnerships?
So there's different types of partnerships, right? So there's some organizations that we fund. In order to receive that funding, we go through usually a competitive process where we first design what we think would be the intervention that we think would tackle a problem that we've usually jointly identified with the government or with civil society. And in order to even get to that level, we try to really do a stakeholder analysis, talk to different communities that are affected, talk to experts, and then read literature, et cetera, look at previous programs, what worked, and then what we would issue a solicitation to ask who would be interested in applying. So now we've also had a process of doing a pre-solicitation conference where people can ask questions, we can ask questions, learn, also invite communities to that. And then we have a competition among whoever has applied to receive that funding. And it is a bit of a complicated process, but the reason for that is to make it fair, to make it also transparent. There are some occasions where you need to act quickly, or there's only one organization that can do the work. We also partner with private sector, where we're both looking for similar results, and the private sector is bringing something and the USAID is bringing something. And I guess an example of that I would bring up is what is called Development Credit Authority. So if we see that, for example, banks aren't lending in a particular sector or to a particular type of borrower, what we can offer through the Development Finance Corporation and U.S. Department of Treasury is a loan guarantee. So let's say we wanted to make loans to low-income farmers for a climate smart ag technology. We can say, okay, we think the bank should lend more in this sector. We will guarantee up to 50% of your losses if you have any. And then the hope is that after seeing our guarantee that they'll continue to make those loans. Another area where we work with the private sector is corporate social responsibility. And India is one of the few countries in the world to incorporate this as a requirement into their laws. And so companies can decide where to invest their programs, but we try to help identify opportunities where we think they could reach vulnerable populations or underrepresented groups. And we're able to leverage CSR resources. Just last year, we were able to leverage more than $300 million from the private sector just towards healthcare solutions. And some of those have gone global, where a solution is created in India, but it has ramifications in other countries. And then we also work with cutting edge technologies, looking at artificial intelligence, for example, to detect tuberculosis. So there's a range of types of partnerships. And then, of course, we partner with the government in looking at where our shared priorities are. So I guess partnership implies a whole variety ways of engaging with each other. We have one collaboration with Pepsi. For example, we're supporting women farmers who are making potatoes that then Pepsi will purchase into making its products, for its food products, for example. Or we work with MasterCard, again, and getting women more digital access as another example.
What is USA doing for women's economic empowerment? And you talked about digital access. So, what else are they doing about bridging the gender digital divide between in India?
So women's economic empowerment and really women's equality or gender equality is incredibly important. And I would say not just in India, but the whole world. A recent, I think it was a McKinsey report, said something like $130 trillion would be added to the global economy if we had gender equality in the workplace. And in India, I think it's almost $1 trillion would be added to the economy. And we know that women, when they get that money, all the other studies show that they invested in people, they invested in their children, in their families, in education, in health. So not only would we be increasing our global economy, we would be increasing our global happiness, our global development. And so we see it as incredibly important to support women's economic empowerment, but as one element of gender equity and gender equality, and having, allowing women to participate fully, and men to participate fully in their own, in improving themselves and improving their lives, including improving their communities. So on the gender digital divide, I think it's something like there's like 300 million fewer women have cell phones or something than men in the world. And so again, it's, but while you still have to look at safety and other issues, increasing the access that women have to digital tools is also incredibly important as our economy changes. One example of where we've worked in this area is called the Women Connect Challenge with Reliance Foundation. So this is a global call for solutions to improve women's participation in everyday life, meaningfully changing the ways that women can access and use technology, and often to also grow their businesses. So closing that gender digital divide would improve the lives of women, stability of their families, and also the lives of men. We've also worked with our Development Finance Corporation, the loan guarantees. And this was a really interesting, so we see that women are a good bet, right? Like they invest in their families, they, when they get extra money, but they're also very reliable, it turns out. We did a collaboration with Kotak Mahindra Bank here. It was $50 million of credit, which was collateral free. And they had 0 defaults. So this way, women were getting financing that they wouldn't have otherwise, and participating in this mainstream approach, not the informal economy. And with 56,000 borrowers and no defaults, I think that's pretty incredible to see how women are really a reliable source of borrowers. I met one woman who bought her own tuk-tuk, and then she paid back her loan, and then someone else was able to buy another tuk-tuk. And that was the motivation that she had, that if I return my money, someone else is going to benefit too. And I think that really speaks to the power of women in the economy, of more sharing and increasing opportunities for everyone.
It is incredible to hear about the women's empowerment. So, I am aware that you have a daughter my age. My final question is, how can young people like us contribute to a greater understanding of the world's shared challenges? And what messages do you have for the youth?
Great. Well, I can see that you're very passionate, and my daughter is too. And it is so wonderful to see young adults of your generation have the kind of passion and willingness, I think, to hold people like us accountable. It might be a little painful sometimes to hear, but I think we need it, and I really appreciate it. I really love the kind of enthusiasm and interest, especially on issues like the environment, that we see among people, especially the younger generations. Y'all are willing to raise your voice, to actively engage. So not just complain, but also look for solutions. And things like this, what you're doing is to try to raise awareness, understand the issues are wonderful. So, use your skills, leverage what you know. What I often tell my daughter, which usually she ends up rolling her eyes at, but I think is true, is that you need to keep keep an open mind and an open heart. So I say open mind because you should be able to take in new opinions and be able to change your mind when needed. And then open heart, meaning bring that compassion, bring an understanding of other people into everything you do. That, sometimes the best things you're going to learn in life are from people that you disagree with, or that you didn't even know because you didn't make the effort to understand them. Because at the end of the day, you're going to need everybody to make a better world. And I think all of you, these new generation, you're ready to make your mark. So please do, and know that you have a lot of fans who can't wait to see what you do. And looking forward to a world where you all are going to be on this side. So I can't wait to see that.
Thank you, Ms. Reddy. This has been an enlightening conversation on the multiple roles of USAID, from helping to lift lives, build communities, and advance democracy. USAID stands on addressing developmental challenges through private sector and collaborations, as well as its efforts in closing the gender digital divide has been engaging. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule for this interaction. I thank you.
It is my pleasure, and I wish you the best in everything you do. I can't wait to see this product as well as your other interviews. This is a great initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much.